Welcome to Peaceful Sleep Stories. Tonight's story is called The Rainy Afternoon Bookshop. We'll spend a peaceful, rainy afternoon in a cozy independent bookshop, browsing the shelves, discovering hidden treasures, and enjoying the simple pleasure of being surrounded by books while the rain falls gently outside. Get comfortable. Close your eyes if you'd like. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Let's begin. It's a Saturday afternoon in late autumn and it's raining. Not a harsh, driving rain, but a gentle, steady rain. The kind that makes everything soft and quiet and grey. The kind of rain that makes you want to be inside somewhere warm and cozy with nowhere you need to be and nothing you need to do. You're walking down a quiet street in the older part of town where the buildings lean slightly toward each other and the sidewalks are made of old brick that's been worn smooth by 100 years of footsteps. You're wearing a rain jacket with the hood up, and you can hear the soft patter of raindrops on the fabric, a gentle rhythm that's oddly soothing. The street is nearly empty. Most people have stayed home on a day like this, and you don't blame them. But you've been looking forward to this all week. A rainy Saturday afternoon with nothing to do but browse the bookshop that you discovered last month and have been meaning to return to ever since. So, to belong to the space. As you step inside, you're immediately wrapped in warmth and the most wonderful smell. Old books and paper and wood polish and something else. Coffee perhaps, or tea. You lower your hood and shake off your jacket. There's a coat stand by the door, an old wooden one that looks like it's been here for decades. And you hang your jacket there, watching the rain drip from it onto the worn wooden floor. The bookshop is exactly as you remember it, and yet somehow even better. It's a maze of shelves that seem to go on forever, despite the fact that the building itself isn't that large. The shelves are tall, floor to ceiling, and made of dark wood that's been polished smooth by years of books sliding in and out. The floor creaks gently as you walk, a comfortable, homey sound. And there's no one at the front desk, but that's fine. You're in no hurry. You begin to wander, letting your feet take you wherever they want to go. The first section you find yourself in is fiction. The shelves here are organized alphabetically by author, but in that wonderfully imperfect way of independent bookshops. Some books are shelved spine out, others face out, showing their covers, and here and there are little handwritten notes on cards, staff pick, or if you loved X, try this, or simply beautiful. You trail your fingers along the spines as you walk, feeling the different textures, smooth paperbacks, textured hardcovers, some books new and crisp, others soft and worn from being read many times. There's something deeply satisfying about this, about the physical presence of all these stories, all these words, all this knowledge and imagination contained in paper and binding. You pull out a book at random, a slim paperback with a cover that's faded to soft colors. You open it to the middle and read a few lines. The prose is lovely, lyrical, the kind of writing that makes you slow down and savor each sentence. You make a mental note of the author's name and carefully slide the book back into its place. The rain continues outside, a constant gentle sound against the windows. Inside, the bookshop is quiet except for the occasional creak of the old building settling, the soft sound of your footsteps on the wooden floor, and from somewhere deeper in the shop, the very faint sound of music, something classical and peaceful, played so quietly it's almost more of a feeling than a sound. You turn a corner and find yourself in the poetry section. This is a small alcove with a comfortable looking armchair wedged in among the shelves, a reading lamp beside it, and a small side table with a stack of bookmarks. Someone has clearly spent time making this a perfect reading nook. You browse the poetry shelves. There are the famous poets, of course, the ones everyone knows, but also dozens of names you've never heard of. Small press publications, handmade chapbooks, collections from local poets. You pull out a slim volume with a cover the color of morning sky and flip through it. The poems are short, about nature and seasons and small moments of beauty. You read one about rain, and it's so perfectly fitting for this moment that you smile. You continue wandering, losing track of time in the best possible way. You find the history section with its rows of thick volumes about empires and wars and discoveries. You find the travel section with its glossy photographs of faraway places and its well-worn guidebooks covered in the fingerprints of armchair travelers. You find the science section, the philosophy section, the art section with its oversized books of paintings and photographs. And then you round another corner and find yourself in what must be the heart of the shop, a larger open area with several armchairs and a sofa arranged around a low table. There's a small cart in the corner with an electric kettle, a selection of tea bags, some mismatched mugs, and a sign that says, "Help yourself, £1 in the honesty box." This is perfect. You're ready for tea. You examine the tea selection. There's Earl Grey and English breakfast, of course, but also chamomile, peppermint, rooibos, and something called Rainy Day Blend that promises notes of vanilla and caramel. You choose the Rainy Day Blend. How could you not on a day like this? You fill the kettle from a small sink in the corner and switch it on. While you wait for it to boil, you select a mug, a large one, pale blue with a tiny chip in the rim that somehow makes it more endearing. You drop a tea bag into the mug and wait, listening to the kettle begin its quiet rumble. The shop owner appears now, emerging from somewhere in the back. He's an older man with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain around his neck, wearing a cardigan that's seen better days and holding a stack of books. "Afternoon," he says quietly, giving you a warm smile. "Making tea? Good choice on a day like this." "The Rainy Day Blend," you say, and he nods approvingly. "My wife's favorite," he says. "She says it tastes like being cozy." The kettle clicks off and you pour the hot water over the tea bag, watching the water slowly turn golden brown. You add a small splash of milk from a carton in a mini fridge and a half teaspoon of sugar. You drop a pound coin into the honesty box. "Take your time," the shop owner says. "Stay as long as you'd like. The rain's not stopping anytime soon." He gives you another smile and disappears back into the stacks with his armful of books. You carry your tea to one of the armchairs, a deep, comfortable one upholstered in faded burgundy fabric. You sink into it, and it's like being hugged. You set your tea on the low table to let it cool a bit, and you notice there are books scattered on the table. Books other customers have been looking at, perhaps, or books the owner has set out as recommendations. You pick one up. It's a collection of essays about simple living, about finding contentment in small things, about the beauty of ordinary moments. You flip through it, reading a sentence here, a paragraph there. The writing is gentle and wise, and it feels like exactly the right book for this moment. You take a sip of your tea. It's still quite hot, but the temperature is just right for drinking slowly. And the shop owner's wife was right. It does taste like being cozy. There's vanilla there, definitely, and something warm and slightly sweet that might be caramel, and underneath it all a mellow, comforting flavor that's simply nice. You continue reading the essay collection, taking small sips of tea between pages. The rain continues its steady patter against the windows. Somewhere in the shop, a clock ticks quietly. The classical music plays on, so soft it's barely there. After a while, you set the essay collection aside and stand up to browse some more, carrying your tea with you. You wander into the nature section and find beautiful field guides to birds and wildflowers and trees. You find books about gardening, about beekeeping, about living in harmony with the seasons. One book catches your eye, a guide to foraging for wild edibles. You pull it out and flip through the pages, admiring the detailed illustrations of plants and mushrooms and berries. There's something appealing about the idea of walking through forests and fields, learning to identify what's edible, connecting with the land in that ancient, fundamental way. You make a mental note of this book too. Perhaps you'll come back for it another day. You move to the cookbook section next. Here are hundreds of ways to feed yourself and others. Simple weeknight dinners, elaborate feast preparations, baking books full of breads and cakes and pastries, books about preserving and pickling and fermenting. You pull out a book about soups, perfect for a rainy day like this, and read through a recipe for vegetable barley soup that sounds wonderful. You can almost smell it cooking. Your tea is getting low now, the last few sips at the bottom of the mug cooling toward lukewarm. You finish it, savoring the last bit of that cozy vanilla caramel flavor, and you carry your empty mug back to the tea station, where you rinse it in the small sink and leave it on the drying rack with the other clean mugs. You check your watch and are surprised to see that nearly 2 hours have passed. It doesn't feel like it. Time moves differently in places like this, in spaces where you're content and calm and absorbed in something quietly pleasant. But you suppose you should think about heading home soon. Not yet though, just a little longer. You make your way to what might be your favorite section in any bookshop, the section of older books, the ones that have been read before and are now waiting for new readers. These books have a different quality than new ones. They carry the marks of their previous owners, inscriptions on the title pages, dog-eared corners marking favorite passages, the occasional underlining or note in the margin. You browse slowly, pulling out books at random and reading their inscriptions. To Margaret, happy birthday, 1987, with love from Tom. For my darling wife, may you always keep dreaming, R. This made me think of you, -J double quote. These little messages from the past are like tiny windows into other people's lives and relationships. Someone once gave these books as gifts, chosen carefully, wrapped, probably, given with hope that they would be enjoyed. And they were enjoyed, read, treasured perhaps, and now they're here, waiting to be treasured again. You find a hardcover novel with a beautiful embossed cover, published in 1952. You open it carefully. The binding is stiff with age but still solid. On the title page, in faded fountain pen ink, someone has written, "To my dearest friend who loves a good story, may this bring you as much joy as your friendship brings me." You stand there for a moment, holding this book that someone gave to their dearest friend more than 70 years ago. You wonder about the giver and the receiver. You wonder if they remained friends for life, if they're both gone now, if they ever imagined that their gift would end up here, being held by a stranger on a rainy afternoon decades later. You close the book gently and slide it back onto the shelf. Some books are meant to stay where they are, carrying their histories quietly. You're near the front of the shop again now, and you can see through the window that the rain is lighter than it was. More of a mist now than a proper rain. The street outside is slick and dark and empty, the afternoon light fading toward evening. The shop owner appears again, carrying a cup of tea of his own. Now, he settles behind the front desk and picks up a book, not to read the pages but to examine the binding, running his fingers over it with the careful attention of someone who truly loves books as objects, not just as stories. "Find anything good?" he asks, looking up at you with a kind smile. "Everything," you say, and you mean it. "I found everything good." He laughs quietly. "That's the right answer," he says. "That's always the right answer in a good bookshop." You realize you haven't actually chosen a book to buy, haven't picked up anything to take home with you. But somehow that feels okay. Today wasn't about acquiring, about adding to your collection. Today was about being here, about spending time in this peaceful space, about the simple pleasure of being surrounded by stories while the rain fell softly outside. "I'll be back," you tell the shop owner, and he nods. "We'll be here," he says. "Same time, same place. Rain or shine." You retrieve your jacket from the coat stand. It's mostly dry now. You put it on and pull up the hood, preparing to step back out into the grey afternoon. As you open the door, the bell chimes. Again, that same pleasant musical note. You step out onto the wet sidewalk and the cool moist air touches your face. The rain has almost stopped now, just the finest mist, barely more than moisture in the air. You begin walking back the way you came, your footsteps quiet on the wet brick sidewalk. You can hear water dripping from gutters and downspouts, the last remnants of the afternoon's rain making its way to the drains. The street is still quiet, still empty. A street lamp flickers on, though it's not quite dark yet. The buildings around you are starting to glow with interior lights. Warm yellow rectangles of windows where people are cooking dinner, reading, settling in for the evening. You feel profoundly content. There's something about spending a rainy afternoon in a bookshop that feeds the soul in a way that's hard to explain. It's the combination of things, perhaps the physical comfort of being warm and dry while the rain falls, the intellectual pleasure of being surrounded by books, the aesthetic beauty of a well-curated space, the sense of time moving slowly and gently, the feeling of being part of a long tradition of readers and book lovers and people who understand that sometimes the best thing you can do on a rainy afternoon is simply this. You turn the corner onto your own street. Your home is just ahead. You can see the light you left on in the window, a small beacon of welcome. You're looking forward to getting inside, to making a simple dinner, to perhaps reading for a while before bed. But you're also already looking forward to next Saturday, and the Saturday after that, and all the rainy afternoons to come. Because now you know where you'll go, now you have a place. The turning page with its maze of shelves and comfortable chairs and tea station and gentle owner and books. So many books waiting patiently to be discovered. You reach your door and let yourself in. You take off your jacket and hangs it up. You switch on a lamp, filling your space with warm light. You put the kettle on for one more cup of tea. And as you wait for the water to boil, you look out your window at the misty evening, at the wet street reflecting the street lamps, at the peaceful, quiet neighborhood settling into night. Everything is well, everything is peaceful, and tomorrow, or next week, or whenever the rain returns, you know exactly where you'll be. In the bookshop, surrounded by stories, with a cup of tea and all the time in the world. That's enough. That's everything. That's perfect. Thank you for spending this rainy afternoon in the bookshop with me. I hope you carry some of that peace with you into your dreams. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you in the next story.